Hey, today I've got some terrifying real Reddit horror stories that genuinely had me sleeping with the lights on. If you want more of these videos, hit subscribe and drop a like. Let's get into it. My mom, 58-year-old female, passed away last week, and I, 27-year-old female, found journals in her closet dating back to before I was born. They're all about me. This one was posted 3 days ago on r/offmychest by user SealedRoom27. And look, it starts like grief. It does not stay there. OP, 27-year-old female, explains her mom, 58-year-old female, had a stroke out of nowhere. No warning signs, no goodbye. She's an only child. Parents split when she was 9. Barely any extended family in the picture. So clearing out the house, that's all on her. Alone. I keep calling it the house like it isn't the place I grew up, but walking back in after the funeral, it felt like a museum. Everything exactly where it always was. Same soap in the bathroom dish, same magnets on the fridge, like she preserved it on purpose. I started in her bedroom because I figured that would be the hardest, and I wanted it over with. I was pulling clothes off hangers when I noticed the filing cabinet pushed all the way to the back wall behind her winter coats. It was locked. I got a flathead screwdriver and forced it. Inside were composition notebooks, dozens of them, all identical, black and white marble cover, stacked in perfect order. The dates on the spines go back 30 years. I thought they were grief journals, maybe love letters from before the divorce. I opened the oldest one and my hands have not stopped shaking since. They're not sentimental. They read like someone conducting surveillance. Every entry is time-stamped, written in third person. Clinical descriptions. Subject is 4'2", hair darkening, no longer matches projected phenotype. There are shorthand codes I can't read. And the first notebook, the very first one, is dated 2 years before I was born. It describes a girl, but it is not me. Different name, different details. I'm sitting on this closet floor with 40+ notebooks left to read, and I don't know what my mother was doing for 30 years. That is where part 1 cuts off. OP on the floor of her dead mother's closet, surrounded by 3 decades of something she cannot yet name. And trust me, what she finds in those pages next is so much worse than what she's imagining right now. So OP keeps reading. She says she sat cross-legged on that closet floor for hours, pulling notebooks out one by one, working through them in chronological order. The dust, the smell of old paper, her dead mother's handwriting on every page. And what the earliest notebooks describe is not what she expected at all. The first few notebooks are about a baby named Elise. Birth weight, feeding times, sleep cycles, motor development, all logged like a research study. No warmth, no, my daughter smiled today. Just, subject displayed social smile response at 6 weeks, consistent with projected timeline. It goes on like that for almost 2 years. Then it just stops. Mid-notebook, mid-page. Blank pages for months. When entries pick up again, the handwriting is shakier, and the subject is a newborn. Me. But my mom never acknowledges the change. Same codes, same format, same clinical tone. Like she swapped one child for another and kept the study going. What got me first were the name slips. She'd write Elise and then scratch it out hard enough to tear the paper, then put my name. Not once or twice, dozens of times across years. As I got older, the entries got more invasive. Descriptions of my facial expressions during arguments. Notes comparing my body language to something called baseline projections. By high school, she was transcribing my phone calls word for word. I found one from when I was 15, a full conversation with my best friend. At the bottom, my mom had written, "Divergence noted, personality drift accelerating, corrective interactions scheduled." I remember that week. She pulled me out of school for a surprise mother-daughter day, took me to lunch, asked all these specific questions about my friends, my goals, who I was becoming. I thought she was being sweet. She was course-correcting me. My whole childhood was a controlled experiment, and I was never the original subject. That reframe is what makes this one stick. Every warm memory, every heart-to-heart, every time her mom surprised her with something thoughtful, she's now running all of it back through this filter. Was any of it real? Or was every single moment just maintenance on a project that started with someone else? And the worst part? She still has no idea who Elise was. but she is about to make a phone call that changes that. So OP does what most people would do when the ground falls out from under them. She calls family. I called my Aunt Linda. We haven't spoken in almost 2 years. She and my mom had some kind of falling out that neither of them ever explained to me. But she was the only person I could think of. I told her about the notebooks, about the clinical entries, about the name Elise. She went completely silent. Not confused silent, not processing silent, the kind of silent where someone is deciding what to say. Then she said, "I was afraid she never stopped." I asked her what that meant. She wouldn't say. She just told me to pack a bag and come stay with her. So I drove 3 hours with a stack of journals on the passenger seat. When I got there, she didn't hug me or ask how I was holding up. She sat down at the kitchen table and asked to see them. I watched her read for almost an hour. She wasn't shocked. That's what got me. She turned page after page with this look on her face like she was reading exactly what she expected to find. When she finally closed the last one, she looked at me and said, "There's something I need to know," but she needed time to figure out how to tell me. I'm writing this from her guest room. It's 2 a.m. I can hear her crying through the wall, and I don't know if she's crying for my mom or for me. That's where OP leaves it hanging. But the comments on this one were not holding back. I physically recoiled reading this. The third-person clinical tone is what gets me. That's not how a mother writes about her child. That's how a researcher writes about a subject. I keep thinking about all the times you probably felt like she was watching you a little too closely and dismissed it. You weren't imagining it. She was literally taking notes. Please, please, please talk to your dad about this. If he left over the journals, he knows more than he's told you, and you deserve the full picture. I called him last night. He broke down on the phone, which I've never heard him do in my life. He said he found the journals when I was about 4 and confronted her, and she told him if he took me away, she'd make sure no one ever found me. He thought she meant it. He's been carrying that for over 20 years, and I had no idea. And then one comment stopped the whole thread. OP, who is Elise? OP went quiet for a couple of days after staying at her aunt's house. Then she came back with an update. I translated the shorthand in the journals, and I don't think she ever knew my real name. Aunt Linda told me everything. Elise was my sister. She was born 2 years before me, and she died at 19 months. An accident at home while my mom was in the other room. The family buried it. No funeral announcement, no obituary, nothing. My mom never recovered. The journals were how she kept Elise alive. She logged every milestone Elise should have hit, every birthday, every first day of school that never happened. And then I was born. She didn't start a new project. She just kept going with the old one. I was slotted into Elise's timeline. Every entry after my birth tracks how closely I matched what Elise was supposed to become. By the time I was 7 or 8, my real name stops appearing entirely. It is just Elise. Every single entry. My aunt showed me the last one, written the morning my mom died. The final line reads, "She is starting to look less like her. I need to," and then nothing. The pen line just trails off the page. She never finished the sentence. I sat there reading that, and I felt something break in me that I don't know how to describe. My mother looked at me every single day of my life, and she didn't see me. She saw a dead girl. I was never her daughter. I was a replacement. The comments on this one shifted. Less theories, more people just sitting with it. I work in psychiatric care. What you're describing sounds like a very specific type of complicated grief that became delusional. Your mother was seriously unwell. I'm so sorry. This. My grandmother did something eerily similar after losing her first son. Kept a progress journal for him for years after he died, just filling in milestones he never reached. The family only found out when she was hospitalized. Grief can build entire architectures inside someone's mind that no one on the outside ever sees. The entry starting before you were born is the part I can't get past. She was already writing the role before you existed to fill it. So sealed room 27, 27-year-old female, came back a few days later with what turned out to be her last post on the account. I translated the shorthand in the journals, and I don't think she ever knew my real name. I called my dad. I hadn't talked to him in over a year, but I picked up the phone and called. Before I could even finish explaining what I found, he was already crying. He knew. He knew about the journals. He said they're the reason he left us. He told me he spent years begging my mom to get help, and she refused every single time. She told him he didn't understand what she owed Elise. That was the word she used, owed. He said he's sorry he didn't fight harder for custody. He said he thinks about it every day. I'm writing this from my aunt's spare bedroom. I can't go back into that house. I asked a family friend to handle clearing the rest of it out. I've started seeing a therapist twice a week. I don't really know what else to say except one last thing. While I was packing up the few things I wanted to keep, I found a box of my baby photos. Every single one of them. On the back of every photo in my mother's handwriting was the name Elise. Not mine, not once. I don't know who she thought I was. I'm going to figure out who I actually am. And that was it. That was the last thing she ever posted. The account went completely silent after that. No replies, no edits, nothing. But one comment from the thread stayed with me. The shorthand code is what's scaring me the most. That's someone who knew other people might read the journals and deliberately made parts unreadable. She was hiding this even from herself in a way. There's something uniquely awful about being loved not for who you are, but as a vessel for someone else's grief. A placeholder for a life that ended before yours began. And OP's story is a reminder that the people closest to us can carry entire hidden worlds behind their eyes, and we might never know until they're gone. But that's not the only secret someone found after a death. This next story takes it even further. I, 26-year-old female, broke up with my boyfriend, 29-year-old male, 3 months ago, but everyone in my life still thinks we're together. This one sat with me for a while. Posted 5 days ago to r/relationship advice by rattledsage_. She's 26, and at first glance, the title sounds like standard post-breakup confusion. Somebody didn't get the memo, feelings are still tangled, somebody's in denial. That is not what this is, not even close. She opens with the background, and honestly, it sounds like she did the hard thing and committed to it. So I was with Jake, 29-year-old male, for 2 years. By the end, he was checking my phone, telling me which friends I could see, needing to know where I was at all times. I finally recognized it for what it was. 3 months ago, I ended it. Moved out, blocked him on everything, told my mom, my friends, my coworkers, done. Clean break. Or so I thought. My mom keeps asking how me and Jake are doing. A coworker mentioned something Jake apparently told her at a party I wasn't even at. My best friend brought up an argument me and Jake supposedly had last weekend. I correct them every time. They look at me like I'm the confused one. Then, last week, I borrowed my mom's phone to look up a recipe and found a group chat between her and Jake. He's been sending her daily updates about our relationship. What we cooked for dinner, what movie we watched, a small fight about laundry. All made up. All written in this boring, mundane detail that she never once questioned. I scrolled up. The messages go back to the day after I broke up with him. Every single day. 90 days of a relationship that doesn't exist. Just let that sit for a second. 90 days. 90 fake entries about a life she was not living, sent to every single person she trusted. Written in the most mundane, believable detail you can imagine. And not one of them ever thought to check with her. Not her mom, not her best friend, nobody. That is where this story starts. So she tries to fix it the obvious way. She goes to the people she trusts most and lays out the truth. I sat my mom down with my phone open, showed her the breakup text I sent 3 months ago, showed her his number blocked, showed her the apartment lease with just my name on it. She listened to all of it, nodded slowly. Then she looked at me and said, "Honey, are you sure you're not just going through a rough patch?" I wanted to scream. I called my best friend next. Same thing. She goes, "But he was just telling me about the hike you two did last Sunday." I was not on a hike. I was on my couch watching garbage TV alone. I started going down the list. My coworker Sarah, my cousin, a college friend I haven't spoken to in over a year. Jake had contacted every single one of them. Different group chats, different platforms, all with these boring little updates about us. What we ate for dinner, a funny thing I said in the car, a movie we disagreed about. 3 months of a relationship that does not exist exposed to every person I know. I went to the police. The officer was polite, asked if this was a domestic dispute. I said we are not together. He checked his notes and told me Jake had come in last week about a noise complaint at our apartment, an address I have never lived at with him. Jake was listed as my emergency contact. I did not authorize that. I walked out of that station and sat in my car for 20 minutes. I pulled up my sent messages. The breakup text is right there. I can see it. I wrote it. I sent it. I know what happened. But when every single person around you is living inside a different version of your life, you start to feel like the proof does not matter. And that is the moment this story crosses a line, because she is not being gaslit by one person anymore. She is being gaslit by her own reality. This is where OP starts to unravel. Not dramatically, quietly. The kind of quiet where you screenshot your own text messages just to prove you sent them. I stopped sleeping around week 6. I screenshot everything now. Every text, every notification, every conversation where someone mentions Jake like we're still together. I started recording phone calls with my mom just to prove to myself that I'm not imagining what she's saying. I found his Instagram. He's been posting photos of places in my neighborhood, the coffee shop on Elm, the park 2 blocks from my apartment, captioned things like, "Our Saturday spot," and "She always gets the oat milk latte." He knows exactly where I go and when I go there. I changed my locks. I started varying my route to work, switching grocery stores, leaving at different times. Then I noticed something that made my stomach drop. There was a heart emoji comment on one of Jake's photos, from my account. I didn't leave it. There was a check-in at a restaurant I've never been to, tagged with Jake, from my account. I changed every single password I have. The activity stopped for 2 days. Then it started again. The comments on this one shifted hard. This is genuinely one of the most terrifying things I've ever read on here. He's not just stalking you, he's replacing your reality. Please get out of that house tonight. But it was the next comment that changed everything. I'm sorry, but the part about your phone traveling to his apartment on Wednesdays while you have no memory? That's not just him being manipulative. Something medical or pharmacological is happening to you. Get a full tox screen done. I did get blood work done last week and I'm waiting on results. What scares me is that Wednesdays are when I always wake up feeling like I slept 12 hours but I'm still exhausted. I used to think it was just midweek burnout. He also used to make me tea every night before bed when we were together. I found a box of the same tea in my cabinet last week and I know I didn't buy it. 6 days later, OP came back with an update post, and the tone is completely different. No more explaining, no more trying to convince anyone, just reporting. I watched the doorbell footage, and I don't remember leaving my house. I'm going to keep this short. I installed a doorbell camera like some of you suggested. I went through 2 weeks of footage. Every single night between 2 and 4 a.m., Jake's car pulls into my driveway. He sits there for exactly 90 minutes. Engine running, lights off. Then he leaves. I never heard him. Not once. On 3 of those nights, my front door opens from the inside. It stays open for about 10 minutes, then closes. I live alone. I was asleep every one of those nights. I check my phone's location history. Every Wednesday afternoon, my phone has been traveling to an address I don't recognize. I looked it up. It's Jake's new apartment. I have no memory of going there. I don't even know where he lives now. I brought everything to my therapist. The footage, the location data, all of it. He listened, and then he paused in a way that made my stomach drop. He said, "We already discussed this. Last Wednesday." I was not at therapy last Wednesday. I don't have an appointment on Wednesdays. But he has session notes. Someone sat in that chair and talked about their relationship with Jake. That person was not me. The comment section on this one moved fast. The therapist part made my stomach drop. If he's gotten to your therapist, you need a completely new support system that he doesn't know about. New phone, new doctor, new everything. Has anyone else noticed she said the front door opens from the inside? If she lives alone and she's asleep, who is opening the door? I am so uncomfortable right now. I went back and reread that part 3 times. She said the door opens and closes 10 minutes later. 10 minutes. That means someone leaves, does something outside, or gets something from a car and comes back in. This person is living in her house. And the thread just keeps going from there. Her reply started breaking apart. I'm packing a bag. I don't know where I'm going yet, but I'm packing a bag. I called my mom to tell her I was leaving, and she just sighed and said Jake already told her I might act out this week because of stress at work. I didn't even know what to say to that. I just hung up. Someone in the comments asked if I was safe, and I want to answer that honestly. I think he's been in my apartment while I'm sleeping. I think he's been here the whole time. I found a phone charger behind my nightstand that isn't mine. There's a toothbrush in the bathroom I didn't buy. The couch cushions are warm when I wake up in the morning. I think he never left. I think when I moved out, he just followed me here, and everyone knows except me. I think that was it. The comment cuts off mid-sentence. No edit, no delete, no follow-up. Her account went completely dark after that. 2 weeks of silence. Then someone in the thread dropped a link. A public Facebook post from OP's mother congratulating the happy couple on moving back in together. There's a photo attached. OP and Jake sitting at a dinner table. She's smiling. But something about the image set people off. The body language, the lighting, the way she's sitting. Nobody could agree on what exactly was wrong with it, but nobody could say it looked right either. Mods locked the thread. The post got archived. And that was it. I work in DV advocacy, and this is called coercive reality construction. It's rare, but when it happens, it's almost always escalating towards something worse. Please contact a shelter. The scariest part of this whole thing isn't what Jake did. It's that it worked. Every single person in her life accepted his version of reality. Her family, her friends, her therapist, the police, they all defaulted to the story that had the most detail, the most consistency, the most normalcy. OP had the truth. But truth without witnesses is just a voice in an empty room. That is the last story for today.